welcome back to Adam and James's Sports Podcast. It's an extremely special week this week. Easter's coming up, which finally marks the end of Lent, and I can start eating pastry again, which is fantastic. Welcome back, James. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and Greggs are officially back in business. Salisbury is on the market for pastry.
Absolutely, and do not forget the Pound Bakery. That can be an absolute worldie if you haven't got that much money.
Anyway, Easter's coming up, which means chocolate egg galore.
Yes, tremendous. I'm not a big chocolate egg man, though, necessarily.
But
I like an egg, don't let me wrong.
Will you be eating an egg on an Easter Sunday?
Yes, you'd imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I do prefer normal eggs.
What, just a standard, like, poached or scrambled?
Yeah, mostly poached, but I don't mind scrambled either. But yeah, eggs.
Lovely.
Big thumbs up from me.
Anyway, as always on the show, we discuss a variety of sports. So in the description it says exactly when we're discussing each one, so you can just skip to whatever you'd like. Now, we're going to kick off the boxing, but I'm going to lead in with my sort of London story as I went down to the O2 to watch Dillian Whyte versus Lucas Brown. I'm just going to talk you through my sort of weekend and view on the south of this country. So, right, first of all, I got on the train to London and I was sat alongside a Rastafarian and a man who I've nicknamed Bushy Beard. They were two sort of...
What?
Well, he had a bushy beard and I didn't know his name, so I went for Bushy Beard.
Right.
So anyway, they were sort of... You know, stereotypical, like, London urban language, blood, mad ting, fam, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's what they were discussing about for 2 hours. So that sort of got under my skin.
What, speaking about those terms or just using those terms?
Using those terms.
All right, I see.
So now, what I want to ask you firstly, what is your view on those terms, firstly? And then I've got another follow-up question.
Yeah, obviously not a fan. It's just ridiculous. Why can't people speak normally?
Yeah. I'll tell you what's even more infuriating. People who are just from really normal, like, middle-class backgrounds who go out of their way to add those words into their vocabulary.
Yeah, very true, yeah. I agree.
Exceedingly irritating. But anyway...
blood.
Yeah, etc. Anyway, not chat, but those sort of things, yeah. So that was annoying. I was listening to that for about 2 hours. One of them, the Rastafarian fellow, was constantly on the phone talking about the bookings he was doing. So I assume he's some sort of DJ or rapper or something.
Or dealer.
Yeah. Anyway, alongside them was a grandma and her granddaughter from Blackpool.
Oh, tremendous.
Who, this young girl feel the need to discuss the whole route. Are we in London yet? Are we in London yet?
Trademark.
Constant.
Yep.
Fairly known. But she did come out with a comment. She was sat across from the Rastafarian and his bushy bearded friend. And she said, "Grandma, where are my Brown family from?"
Oh, no.
While sat across from a black Rastafarian.
Yeah, that's racist.
Luckily, he found it fairly amusing, so it was sort of waved off.
Yeah. Racist pig from Blackpool.
Anyway, so, yeah, get to London. Firstly, 30p for the toilet.
Yep. Trademark London.
Absolutely appalled by the whole thing. So was Bushy Beard, who I could hear saying, 30p for a piss blood. Outside the cubicle I was in. So anyway.
There is a method to get in and out without paying, though.
Well, jump over the thing.
Well, yeah, or just walk through that barrier.
So I located the hotel after a horrendous ordeal with Google Maps. I walked around I was walking around in circles for a while, but eventually found it. Anyway, then off to the hotel via shuttle bus.
Shuttle bus?
They had a shuttle bus which takes you to sort of like an underground area, and then it's one stop, and then you're at the O2.
All right.
Anyway, there was no seatbelt in there, so I felt sort of in danger, but I was fine. Anyway, arrived at the O2, and I didn't realise just how big the O2 was. If you've not been, it's sort of like just a massive mess tent.
Yeah.
And inside, it's absolutely full to the brim with restaurants. Right. Absolutely covered. So anyway, firstly, we went into a buffet. Didn't fancy that, so we went to a Thai restaurant. I had sweet and sour from the Thai restaurant. Firstly, I walked in, they have like low benches, and I sat, and they were like really, really close to the table. So I thought this was like traditional Thai seating. So I'm like trying to squeeze into these benches. Anyway, it turns out you just move them back. So I looked like a bit of an idiot briefly. And then they had I had a really like difficult. You know when you talk to like sort of a foreign waiter and you're struggling to work out exactly what you're ordering. Yeah. Like he was asking me about how I wanted my rice, and I couldn't work out what he was saying. So I agreed to sticky, but I didn't know what type of sticky thing I was agreeing to because I didn't know he was discussing rice. Okay.
Anyway, what else are you going to be discussing?
I didn't have a clue.
Sticky.
He was asking me loads of different. I just said sticky.
What, you said sticky?
No, he gave me a list and Sticky was on the list.
Oh, right.
I didn't know if he meant my actual sweet and sour or what.
Right, okay.
But anyway, yeah. Then they had another couple came and sat down next to us. They put them on the same table as us. They were big tables, but they put them on the same tables. And this woman was looking at the waiter going, can we have a separate table, please? So I was like, right, cheers, thank you. Not very courteous, but yeah. They sat next to us for the duration of the meal. Then the toilets were another difficult thing. I was really just struggling to decide which toilet to go in because they weren't the normal male and female size. It sort of looked like a bended eye and a straight eye. So anyway, I was trying to debate which one was male and which one was female. I was approaching. I decided after about a minute, right, I'm going to go for the bent eye. I think that's probably it. Anyway, I'm approaching the bent eye, about to open the door, and a woman comes out. So I'm thinking, Jesus, that was a close call.
Right.
Anyway, it was all fine. Then I got told off as I was entering the O2 for stroking the sniffer dog. Do not touch my dog. Yeah. Anyway, then straight into the O2 for the fights, and then we'll discuss the rest of our time in London, but we'll get on with the fights first.
My mum once watched the Osmonds at the O2 about 10 years ago, something like that.
The Osmonds?
Yeah.
What?
Donny.
Donny
Jimmy. Yeah, the lot.
I didn't know.
And they called it Puppy Love. Great song.
It was performed by a local Preston lad on Stars of Our Eyes.
Yep. Actually,
Kingsley Judd.
Kingsley Judd, yeah.
Performed. Anyway, so yeah, the boxing. Right. Firstly, it's really difficult where to start for this one because I feel a bit emotional about it, but I'll let you do your thing and then I'll do mine. Dillian Whyte stopped Lucas Browne, knocked him unconscious in the 6th round.
Yep.
What's your view on the fight?
Let's start just before the fight. On last week's podcast, I predicted Whyte would win on points quite comfortably, unless Browne hit him, obviously, and then it would be curtains. All the week leading up to the fight, I thought, you know what, Browne's got a serious chance of knocking Whyte out here. So my prediction just before the fight was that Browne would knock Whyte out. How utterly wrong I was.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Browne looked slow, looked heavy. Whyte had all the success in the world with anything he was throwing. Browne looked frustrated. Cut above the eye didn't help, obviously, and ultimately got knocked unconscious. A bit of an anticlimax as far as I'm concerned, because I was really looking forward to the fight.
Yeah, so I'm at the venue, obviously, and firstly, Lucas Browne came out to the most intense ring walk music I've ever heard in my life. When you're watching on TV, it doesn't quite come across how loud it actually is in the venue. And usually Browne comes out cool, relaxed to AC/DC, but this time he was going out to some sort of rap music. And his psychology for me just didn't seem right. He looked very, very nervous. He just didn't look the chilled man he usually is.
No, he looked phased by the occasion.
I was saying to Dad, my final prediction when I was in the LT, I was thinking, Whyte beats him, Whyte stops him. He just didn't look right. Lucas Browne talks a lot about how important the mental side of boxing is, and this time he just didn't seem to master that. He came in heavy. At the weigh-in, I didn't think he looked great, but he looked even worse in the ring. I just don't understand why he made the decision to come in at that weight. It wasn't the Lucas Browne that fought Ruslan Shagiev. A couple of years ago, Lucas Browne went to Russia and defeated Shagiev, who was the WBA champion at the time. It was the performance of his career. He came in, he was quick, he was sharp, he was moving well, his head movement was good, but he didn't do any of those things on Saturday night. It just looked like over the 2 years, 2 years out of the ring, he just sort of got old. He looked complacent, he looked sluggish, his right hand was ridiculously telegraphed. I could see it coming. He just didn't look like the man he was in Russia.
The ring activities clearly caught up with Lucas Browne. I'll be honest, I doubted Whyte's power because he hadn't stepped in the ring with anyone noticeable really other than your Joshuas and Chisora to a certain extent and hadn't knocked them out. So that's why I thought that Whyte wouldn't knock Browne out, but obviously he carried that power to knock Browne unconscious, who was renowned for a decent chin, to be fair.
Yeah, Browne showed how tough he is once again.
Yeah.
He took a lot of shots and seriously, when I was watching it ringside, I was thinking, oh my God, he's taking some big ones here. 2 teeth went flying. I don't know if you saw that on the TV.
No, I didn't see that.
But anyway, yeah. He was just getting tagged with everything. Whyte was moving well. and basically just seemed to tag Browne at will. Browne didn't seem to have any game plan or method.
No.
It was ludicrous. Browne has a good trainer in Rodney Williams, and he works so hard on the footwork side and the mental side, and he used to just be a slugger who just looked for the right hand, but in the Shagiev fight he worked on so much more. This time he just looked like he'd completely regressed. And I'm a huge Lucas Browne fan, by the way. He's one of my favourite fighters. But I was disappointed that he just didn't seem to have the ability this time.
Yeah, White looked the classier fighter and deserved his win and deserves a world title shot, in fairness.
Anyway, yeah. So Browne looked really... Sorry, I've just got a dog that's caused a bit of issue, so I hope you can't hear that barking. Anyway, yeah. So Browne, very tough. In the 6th round, he was bleeding horrifically. Had a horrible cut.
Yeah, it was an awful cut.
It was right.
It was a deep gash.
Yeah. He always seems to get cut, Browne, so I wouldn't read too much into that. But yeah, after looking just not like the fighter he used to be, if you've never seen Lucas Browne before, he's better than that performance.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. He is. It was a great night in Chechnya.
Yeah, one of my favourite in boxing, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple of years ago, he was definitely a top 10 heavyweight, and off that performance, he's not in the top 15, top 20. He wasn't what he was a couple of years ago. But anyway, at the 6th round, Dillian Whyte landed a left hook, and I didn't realise watching it how big a shot it was at first. I thought Browne had sort of overbalanced. I thought he'd been knocked down, but I didn't think it was that heavy. And then I saw him laid out flat. And I'll be honest, I'm not afraid to say that for the first time really in boxing, I was scared. I was watching and he was just out. He wasn't moving. I was seriously worried, and it really brought it home to me just how brutal a sport this is.
Yeah, very much so.
It was sickening, really, and obviously I've seen journeymen knocked out in person before, and you don't think too much of it because I know the Lucas Browne story. I know about his family, about his friends, etc., and you've sort of developed an emotional connection with them. I felt sick to my stomach and was worried, like seriously worried about him. So I was so happy when he was able to get up and the oxygen was done. I just really want to give a congratulations to the British Boxing Board of Control. Sometimes I don't do that, but I will this time due to the way they handled the issue and how quickly they got the doctors in and how quickly he was transported to hospital. So I just thought that was absolutely fantastic that he was able to recover. What was sickening as well, I had people behind me, like young kids shouting, he's dead, and stuff like that. It was just horrible. The man's got kids. He doesn't need people being horrible. He's taken a huge shot. He showed a lot of bottle. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. Now moving on to the positive side of things, which was Dillian Whyte's performance. He has earned himself a world title shot, hasn't he?
Yeah, most definitely. Ultimately, he's cleaned up a man who's got a decent reputation in boxing. Obviously, unbeaten, defeated the likes of Ruslan Shagiev. So yeah, so White called out Wilder after the fight. That'll be a fight I'd be keen for. Again, I see it relatively similar to the fight I saw against Browne. If he evades getting hit, I reckon White outboxes Wilder.
Right, so you'd be predicting a White win, but it's serious circumstances, because if that bomb detonates, I mean, it's sort of a similar, I suppose it is a similar set of circumstances to this weekend, but Wilder's obviously got to be a lot more fitter, a lot more agile.
I'd say Wilder would knock him out. I wouldn't predict a White win. But if White could evade getting hit, then White would outbox Wilder for me, yeah.
Yeah, but he definitely deserves his shot now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So that's where Dillian goes. Where do you want Lucas to go? For me, I'd like him maybe to have a couple more in Australia and then call it a day. Unfortunately, due to the corruption in boxing, the night that should have been so special in Russia was taken off him due to contaminated meat. It's just such a sad story, but unfortunately, it just is what it is now. I'd like him to have a couple more in Australia, maybe for a domestic contest, get the Australian public interested in him. Maybe Solomon Hamono, somebody like that. And then call it a day and spend some time with his family. That'd be the sort of path I'd like Lucas to take.
Yeah, for me, maybe one more in Australia for Lucas Browne. Knock them out comprehensively and then call it a day. End of the day, the man's probably earned his money in boxing. Has kids, 38 years of age, and just get out of there. In fact, hopefully they put the current cricket captain, Steve Smith, in. That'd be a crack. I wanted to see Lucas Browne knocking out Steve Smith, because Steve Smith is a cock.
Is he the ball fiddler, so to speak?
Indirectly.
Anyway, we'll get on to the ball fiddling later on. And ball fiddling is cricket, not something else.
Not sex.
So anyway, yeah, so that was the whole whole Lucas Brown Dylan White fight. We'll do a little tribute to Lucas at the end of the show. Anyway, Frank Buglioni cleaned up inside a round by Johnson. Callum Johnson, of course, we predicted last week. Extremely talented man, but had been inactive. My sort of last-minute urge was that Johnson was just going to have too much talent for him. And that sort of proved right. Frank landed a decent hand and sort of got a little bit greedy, and then Johnson nailed him. Frank sort of stumbled over, got up. Johnson landed another good shot. Frank was really wobbling all over the place. 1,000,000% the correct stoppage by the referee. You have to think of the health of the fighter. Frank then tried to show the referee that he could move right. I don't know if you saw it. He was moving around in a circle and then stumbled again.
Yeah. He was moving a bit like a bug, actually. Sort of jumping around the ring.
Buglioni. But anyway, yeah. How did you rate the Callum Johnson performance?
Ultimately, if you're blowing away Frank Buglioni, who's renowned for being quite tough, it's a good performance. I think we ought not to forget that Buglioni was down against, what's his name? Brain block on the cards.
Down against Jose Burton on the cards.
Jose Burton on the cards, and then produced a great knockout in the 12th. But other than that, I thought Johnson was outstanding. To knock out a tough guy like that is obviously a good performance in his form.
I'll tell you what, I don't think Frank Warren and Anthony Yarde will be too keen to step inside the ring with Callum Johnson anytime soon.
No, definitely not.
And also fantastic was Callum. Callum unfortunately lost his father a year or two back, who he was extremely close with in boxing regards, and it's fantastic he was able to do a tribute to his dad and produce such an excellent performance. Callum Johnson has arrived.
So what a prize as well. We tipped it last week at 10-11.
Anyway,
Bloody hell.
My last minute predictions were excellent on Saturday. I predicted last minute that Dillian Whyte would beat Lucas Brown. Last minute that Callum Johnson would beat Frank. I predicted them both convincingly. One I got horrifically wrong. I said last week that I thought Lewis Ritson would walk through Scott Cardle, but for some reason on the night I just felt Scott Cardle had a chance. It seemed to be a sort of ludicrous prediction. Scott Cardle did excellently in the first round, had Lewis Ritson rocked to a certain extent, but in the second round you do not punch with a puncher, and Lewis Ritson defeated Scott Cardle via technical knockout. Definitely the right decision to finish the fight.
Yeah, it was the best 2 rounds of boxing, as in the fight, that I've ever seen. A 2-round scrap. It was superb. Ritson obviously hits immensely hard. Cardle had a great first round, but probably blew himself out and got cleaned up by a rising star, it's fair to say.
Yep. Last mention of that night, Derek Chisora defeated a journeyman fairly comfortably. Then had a little bit of a ringside scuffle with David Hay. So anyway, Chisora's ringside, he calls over David. David, come over here. David starts trying to offer him the Joe Joyce fight. Chisora says the following: okay, I will fight Joe Joyce. If he beats me, I will only take £1 for that fight. But if I beat Joyce, then you give me your Tony Bellew purse and your TV right. To which the crowd's going absolutely off. If you were David Hay, would you have taken that deal?
No, because he's getting plenty of money. But if he's that confident in Joyce, then yes, why not?
The confidence must not be there, because if it was there, if he thought it was a foregone conclusion, he would have taken it.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Then Chisora started saying he's never had a broken toe, he's never had an injury, he's never made excuses, etc. The crowd loved Derek. I actually feel like it's sort of a hindrance being promoted by David Hay, because he's sort of becoming a villain of British boxing, and I don't think that's going to help Joe Joyce.
He's a bit like the Eubanks. Like, it's all about Hay, and it's all about Eubanks' dad. It's just ridiculous, really.
Anyway, that was London. I'm going to finish off my sort of story, and then we'll lead on to the big one, which happens this weekend with Anthony Joshua and Joseph Barker. So yeah, absolutely gutted about the fight. Went into Starbucks because the venue's absolutely like people coming out galore sort of thing. So I went into Starbucks. There was a Sky Sports presenter sat next to me. If you've ever watched Toe to Toe, Leanne Johnson, who presents that programme, was sat next to me. Didn't say hello, obviously. But anyway,
who? You or she?
Obviously, she was mad keen for a picture, but Leanne, I'm trying to have my frappe here.
Yeah, fair enough.
So anyway, day 2, up and early, out, found Bill's Breakfast, which is where I had my breakfast. Had a full English. Quite weird. They gave me these weird sausage type things. They weren't long like your stereotypical sausage. They were sort of really short and spout, like sort of really short, fat sausages.
Any flavour to them?
Well, quite a lot of flavour. They were nice, but they were sort of like verging on orange. It was.
No, I mean, like, was it a different flavour? So was it like a pork and add something to pork sausage, like a flavoured sausage? That's what I'm getting at. Was there any flavour, or was it just strictly pork?
I think it was strictly pork.
Okay. Like pork and chilli. Like chilli sausages. But anyway, moving on.
Anyway, they were nice, yeah. Also had a chocolate brownie milkshake, so fully enjoyed Bill's breakfast. I think Dad also had the English, thoroughly enjoyed it. He's a big mushroom man, so he was eating the mushrooms.
No, a big mushroom
I'm not really into the whole mushroom side of things. Anyway, then we attended the Greenwich Market. What a lovely place. Right. Heard my favourite quote of the weekend. There was a man walking past me, went, right, we're at the market, so we've got to get a present for Trish. And send it in. No, just Trish, his friend Trish. And he went, and we've got to send it in a postcard. And then his mate went, do we have to? And then he went, well, I suppose we could just send her a voucher. She likes those. So this whole shopping trip for this interview.
That's not funny.
It was the way he said it. The way that he was mad keen to get Trish a present, and then suddenly his mate couldn't be asked. He was like, fine, we'll just send her a voucher. She likes them.
Okay.
Really sort of, like, unadventurous idea for a birthday present. Also, quite saddening, actually. I was looking at all these these young children in the market. I was thinking, every single one of them is going to grow up to have a Cockney accent.
Or probably do have a Cockney accent now.
Yeah, so quite saddening, actually.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, so I bought a lovely painting of Boba Fett.
Really?
Yeah, at the Greenwich Market. I'll show you later. It's really nice. Really nice painting. Not really a painting man, but I thought, go on then, I'll pick that up. I then went to a boat called the Cutty Sark, which is unbelievable. Then went to the Royal Observatory, which is nice. Then took a little boat back to the train station. And then home.
Lovely. Also,
spent a while looking for toilets in and around Euston Station, because I refused to pay 30p again.
Well, there isn't toilets that are free within Euston Station.
There's not.
Other than them.
In the surroundings.
You don't just walk into Nando's? Just
across
the station?
No, it wasn't available in Nando's. There was loads of...
Of course it's available in Nando's. Just walk in.
No, we couldn't see a toilet in Nando's. We went in and there wasn't one.
Right, well...
I presume that's due to they're all owned by Euston. They want people to pay.
Walk in the door, turn right, straight on your left.
I couldn't see it. Nor could I see it in any of the other ones we went to, until eventually we found a Cafe Nero. There was 2 Cafe Neros, one slightly further away, and we found one in there.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on to the super fight which we have this weekend. 3 of the 4 world heavyweight titles are on the line. Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker, Millennium Stadium. It's a big one.
It is a big one. And it's called Anthony Joshua. I'm sick to my teeth for Sweetnam saying Anthony.
I'm a big believer.
Anthony!
I'm a big believer in Anthony.
Right, anyway. Yes, it's a big one. Unifying the heavyweight division. 2 good fighters. Let's get it on. Tremendous.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to quickly delve into the actual fight. The big question to you is this fight winnable for Joseph Parker? Can Joseph pull off the upset?
Yes, it is winnable. If Parker takes Joshua into the later rounds, I think it's very possible because the speed will come through, the superior boxing ability that Parker has will come through.
I feel that if it's within the first 6 rounds, Joshua's going to have a big advantage with his big right hand, etc. Joseph Parker, in previous fights, hasn't shown a brilliant defence. He has been easy to hit. His Parker goes on and on and on about his granite chin, but if you get hit by a sledgehammer over and over again, it's going to mount up.
Yeah.
I feel in the first 6 rounds, it's going to be probably one-way traffic for Anthony Joshua, and it's an if. If Joseph Parker can get into the second round of that fight, it takes a lot of oxygen to keep those big muscles going for Anthony Joshua. He will gas in the second half of that fight. Joseph Parker has got the quickest hands amongst the elite heavyweights, and he goes to the body well. It is possible that Joseph Parker can wear Anthony out in the second half of that fight. Anthony will be slower, a sitting duck. If Joseph Parker can get the fast combinations going, he's got a shot. But I still feel that defence is lacking, which gives me a slight edge to Anthony Joshua. I think AJ wins the fight, but I think Joseph Parker's got a shot. But I think Joshua wins.
I don't think it'll be round 1. I don't even think it'll be round 2. I think if Joshua is to knock out Parker, it'll be round 4 or 5 or 6, around that mark. But no, Joseph Parker, I think is extremely underrated on these shows. I think people are just going to write Parker off. That Joshua's just going to walk through him. I don't think that's the case. I think Joshua probably will win. And I think he will knock him out in the round 5 or 6. But if Parker gets past that mark, I think the class of Parker will start to come through, and who knows. However, one thing's for sure, he's not going to get a points victory against Anthony Joshua.
No, he's not getting them on those cards. Now, the thing is, what's going to be interesting about this contest is I think both men are aiming to go in a lot lighter than the previous fights. Joseph Parker has scraped past his last couple of fights. He was overweight against Andy Ruiz, overweight against Hughie Fury, and they're excellent wins to have, especially being overweight, but he's just about got through them. Joshua looked slow and sluggish in the Carlos Takam fight, so I think we're going to see career best performances from both Joseph and Anthony, because I think they're going to be coming in the best possible shape they can.
Yeah, I probably agree with that, yeah. People will tell you that Joshua's career-defining fight was that Klitschko fight, and it's a great win for Joshua, obviously, but ultimately he's fought a 40-year-old man who probably should have knocked him out if Klitschko was 10 years younger. I think he knocks out Anthony Joshua when he had the chance. But a great win for Joshua. Take nothing away. I think this will be a great fight on Saturday night.
Anyway, usually the gloves are off. It's reserved for fighters who are in big fights, big occasions. But this time round, we had a promoter's gloves are off. If you've not seen David Higgins before, he's Joseph Parker's eccentric New Zealand promoter. He turned up, presumably on cocaine, at the Hughie Fury press conference and started on Peter Fury. So he's as mad as a box of frogs, David Higgins. He actually had a meeting with Eddie Hearn in his office, wearing just a vest.
Yeah, lovely.
Very bizarre. Anyway, did you watch the gloves, Ross? What did you think about it? Who did you think seemed more confident in their fighter's ability?
I thought it was hilarious, actually, that Higgins linked himself to Marlon Brando in a Tennessee named
a streetcar named Desire. Your defence is terrified.
Yeah, Tennessee Williams wrote that, so that's why I stumbled over Tennessee. But anyway, yeah, I thought Higgins looked like a shrewd operator, looked quietly confident in his man, made some really good points actually. But Hearn's clearly going to be confident in Joshua. He's watched his man knock out pretty much everyone that he's put in front of him. So I think they're both extremely confident, and yeah, it'd be a good fight this.
Anyway. Yeah, a fight that I'm going to be hid behind the sofa for, not afraid to say it. David Price is taking on the astronomical challenge of Alexander Povetkin. David Price hits extremely hard, and if he catches Povetkin at any point, it could be curtains. But unfortunately, and I don't want to say it, but I don't think he's got the ability to do it. I think with sincere regret, Povetkin's just a level or two above him, and I think Povetkin wins the fight.
Yeah, Povetkin's a classy operator. Price hasn't been the same in years. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I see Price getting knocked out. But every credit to David Price for taking this fight. It's a mammoth challenge, this.
I think every man in the country will be rooting for David Price to beat Alexander Povetkin, who, unlike some of the fighters we discussed recently, is an out-and-out drug cheat, an out-and-out steroid cheat. We don't like Alexander, and I'd do anything to see David Price knock him out at the weekend. But if we're going to be realists, we have to predict that Povetkin probably wins the fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, next on the bill, Ryan Bennett is defending his world title against Jonfres Perejo. How do you see that fight going?
The dog again causing chaos in this room at the moment. But I see another classy performance from Burnett. Can't really look past it. Probably a stoppage.
Yeah, I think Burnett's a very good fighter, and I feel this is the sort of fight that will just get him out to a wider audience, big pay-per-view show, and I think he wins fairly comfortably and then moves on to hopefully big fights against the likes of Zolani Tete, etc.
Yeah, most definitely.
Anyway, next on the bill, it's probably in and around our favourite fighter. We're both huge Anthony Crolla fans, aren't we? Both been to support him at the Manchester Arena. He's had huge back-to-back fights, the likes of Linares, Perez, Burns, Barroso, etc. This weekend he's sort of just got a stay busy fight against Edson Ramirez. Should be a comfortable win for Anthony Crolla.
Yeah, I'd be extremely surprised if Crolla got beaten this one. I can't see anything other than a Crolla win, probably by stoppage, get the Crolla sort of movement going again to big fights in the future.
Yeah, he's definitely capable of winning a world title again, Anthony Crolla. Yeah. There's fighters in that division likes of Ray Beltran, Robert Easter, who hold world title belts, who I think Crolla beats. So hopefully a good performance this week from Anthony and we can move on to a big, big fight in the summer.
Yeah.
Anyway, this weekend we also had some charity boxing for Sports Relief. Spencer the Dispenser Matthews took on Wayne Triple B Bridge, which stands for John Terry Bone, Banged and Bashed My Missus. Anyway.
You make me sick.
Anyway, decent fight. Wayne Bridge used his jab exceptionally well and took Spencer Matthews to school. A lad from Made in Chelsea was never going to compete with a man who's played professional football for the likes of Chelsea.
And he's a really good left back on the slide.
Yeah. Really nice man, Wayne Bridge.
Unfortunately that Wayne Bridge played at a time when Ashley Cole was an outstanding left back. There's no chance he's better than Ashley Cole.
Yeah, Ashley Cole's an excellent player.
I mean,
another sort of man that would shag somebody's missus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not a huge Ashley
Cole
fan.
would shag anything. Let's not.
We are big supporters of Cheryl.
And Ashley Cole.
And whatever
Ashley
her surname is nowadays.
Ashley Cole's an outstanding footballer. It's Payne, isn't it?
What?
Payne, isn't it?
Oh,
One Direction.
Is she married to Liam?
I don't know.
I know, they've had a kid who ironically is called Bear Payne.
Yeah.
I don't think they thought that name for it.
No.
Anyway.
Very painful.
Anyway, another weird fight. Firstly, what do you think of this whole YouTube boxing thing?
Shite.
Anyway.
End of. Bollocks.
Right. A few weeks ago we had KSI and Joe Weller boxing. It did over 20. I think it did over 20 million views on YouTube. The most viewed boxing match of all time, bizarrely.
Shite.
Yeah, very, very weird. Anyway, we have another boxing match. They're doing this again. This time they're going to sell out the Manchester Arena for a YouTube boxing match. This YouTube thing is absolutely massive for kids in this country. Young kids, I'm talking. Like, in and around 10, 11, 12. Anyway, so KSI versus Logan Paul is the main event. Now, I know who KSI is. Back in the day, I used to do all the Road to Division 1 things. So when I was about 11, I used to watch KSI's videos. Anyway, he's taken on somebody called Logan Paul. And I didn't know who Logan Paul was until a few weeks ago. He was involved in a horrific controversy. And I'm going to gauge your opinion on this because I think you'll find this sick as well. He went out on a holiday to Japan, right? There's this forest in Japan called it's nicknamed the Japanese Suicide Forest. Because a lot of the Japanese go out there to kill themselves. Anyway, he took a video camera out there, found a dead body, and then filmed the dead body. And was like laughing and joking next to this dead suicide victim. I think that is absolutely disgusting. What's your opinion?
Utterly vile.
Anyway.
About as vile shite as a shit boxing fucking thing.
Yeah. Anyway, he's also electrocuted rats and done all sorts of disgusting things. So yeah, although I'm not overly interested in this YouTube boxing match, I hope KSI wins it, because I'm not a fan of what Logan Paul has done. Anyway, moving on to the cricket and the ball handling, which we were discussing earlier. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding Australia. What's your opinion on the matter? How disgusting do you think it is?
Although this Australian cricket team is a winning team, it's probably the most unpopular team, unpopular Australian side in absolutely years. They are a bunch of absolute cocks.
Absolutely horrific week for Australian sport as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it all starts with the captain, Steve Smith. Steve Smith has spoken all winter about how Jimmy Anderson's sledging is a disgrace and all this. Steve Smith is the biggest hypocrite I've ever seen. He's got the rookie member of the team to take the brunt of this sort of tampering with the ball thing. It's an absolute disgrace. Let's not forget that tampering with the ball is just like every now and again with cricket. It happens all the time, really. But this particular situation is a disgrace, in my opinion. And this leadership team that Smith speaks about, which consists of Smith, Warner, the vice captain, Stark and Hazelwood, the quicks, and Nathan Lyon, the spinner, getting Cameron. I have a stutter, by the way, so if you're thinking, what the hell's this guy doing? I have a speech impediment, but yeah, Cameron Pancroft.
Again, here we go.
Is getting him, the rookie member of the team, to do that is an absolute disgrace. It has been quite an ill-tempered series with South Africa. Warner has had an altercation with Quinton de Kock outside the changing rooms.
Quinton de Kock?
Yeah,
what a lovely surname.
Yeah, the wicketkeeper.
A really posh penis.
Yeah, Quinton de Kock.
Quinton de Kock?
Yeah, tremendous.
Quite like that name, but anyway, move on.
Yeah, so Yeah, the pair nearly came to blows after Quinton de Clock, spoke about Warner's wife.
Jesus. What did he say?
I don't know, it's just a comment about his wife. However, Warner's quick to say, Quinton de Clock crossed the line. But let's be honest, a couple of the comments he's made to England players during the Ashes is an absolute disgrace. He goes far too personal, and he is absolutely not the right man to be telling others where the line is.
What sort of comments were it that really riled you up?
Well, it's just, he makes really personal comments. Obviously, I'm not on the field. However...
Oh, so you don't actually know what he's saying?
I don't actually know what he said, but the England players, from what they say, it's far too personal. Australia asked the TV producers to cut the mics in between deliveries, which just is inviting people to think that they're just a vile side. Ultimately, it's a winning team, but a bunch of absolute twats. Therefore, for me, Smith and that leadership team should get a hefty fine and ban.
What's the expected punishment? Is that it? A ban and a fine?
Under ICC rules, they'll get a one-match suspension, because it's not that severe of a sort of crime in the world of cricket, because it happens all the time. However, on this particular occasion, I think it oversets the mark. Smith quite clearly can't carry on being captain of Australia. It's vile. He ought to have a hefty suspension.
It's corruption at the highest level, really. Anyway, Saturday was a big weekend, a big day of sport for you. You had Brown and White in the evening, and then you moved on to England versus New Zealand. How was that?
Yes, what a ridiculous week it's been in cricket. I wait up all night watching England most of the time. And on this occasion, we were in New Zealand, which is tremendous. I mentioned last week that I haven't seen England win away in 18 months in a Test match. But I was quietly optimistic. It was England against New Zealand with a pink ball, or quality bowlers on show. Southey and Bolt for New Zealand, Anderson and Broad for England. Two quality team lineups. Unfortunately, England went out to bat and got absolutely blown away for 58, their third lowest Test match score of all time. Absolutely disgraceful. These are experienced cricketers. Against the moving ball, you shall play with soft hands and get your feet to the ball. Unfortunately, England experienced players play with hard hands, nowhere near the pitch of the ball, and edging off most of the time and getting cleaned up. It was a disgrace, and England went on to lose the series, lose a Test match. However, this two-match Test series, so to speak, it's not a series, it's 2 matches. It's a disgrace. If you have one awful hour or so like England did, then there goes the series. You can't win the series. For me, a Test match series should consist of a minimum of 3 games. So if you have a bad game one game, you can come back and win the next 2 and win the series. It's a joke, but anyway.
The Premier League of Darts was in Glasgow this Thursday, and it were a fairly big week. A lot of comprehensive victories on the card. We kicked off with Daryl Gurney versus Mensur Suljovic, and Suljovic had that good momentum a couple of weeks back. He seemed like he was maybe turning his campaign around, but he took another beating this week, and it was at the hands of Daryl Gurney, who picked up his first win in the Premier League. He won 7-3.
Yeah, really good performance from Gurney. He sort of hit the front and never looked back. Mensur Suljovic scrapped away the first couple of legs, got 3 on the board, and then sort of got blown away by the Northern Irishman. It's been a long time coming for Gurney for that win, but it's a good win.
Yeah. Throughout the tournament, Daryl's been scoring well, but missing doubles, and it was good to see him finally hitting those doubles.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, second game of the night, it was a clash between the 2 heavyweights, the 2 men at the top of the table, MVG versus Michael Smith. Smith started all right. He didn't play brilliantly, but he managed to get 2 legs on the board. But they went on to be the only 2 he'd get as MVG took over, won the game 7-2, and is now rocketed up to the top of the Premier League.
Yeah, Smith raced into a 2-leg lead, and he was playing really badly, but MVG was averaging in the mid-80s, so Smith got off to the perfect start, and then MVG rattled 7 quick legs on the spin, ended up averaging over 100 and blew Michael Smith away. a great performance from MVG. And yeah, top of the league. I can't see him getting caught either.
Yeah, you'd imagine he'd finish in that top position.
Yeah.
And we really are getting to the stage where people are scrambling to make that top 4. It's getting intense.
Yes.
Anyway, the man from down under couldn't take down the home hero. Simon Whitlock played well, but was on the end of a 7-4 defeat against the man from Scotland, Gary Anderson. The whole arena was jumping around for Gary. They support him massively. They really get behind him at the Hydro. And Gary was, he went into the top 4 off a win against Simon Whitlock.
Yeah, it was a quality game, actually. Great standard. Whitlock probably didn't deserve to lose, but Anderson was in scintillating form. In his home nation, obviously. It was great to see at the match of the night, and Anderson should carry on this good run and get in the top 4 quite comfortably now.
Anyway, another Scotsman, who may be English, it's debatable, but anyway, Peter Wright was in the final of the Premier League last year, but now he's received his 3rd 7-1 defeat back-to-back. He lost 7-1 against Raymond van Barneveld. What has happened to Peter Wright?
Yeah, let's not forget that Peter Wright mismatched darts to defeat MVG in last year's Premier League final. Now he's absolutely doomed. He's probably going to get relegated. However, he's had a good week actually at the European Tour. He made the final, lost the last leg decider to Michael van Gerwen. So that's good signs. In terms of Peter Wright, he used the most ridiculous darts the other night. He used flights that were stuck to the dart, so like his deflections he was getting off the darts were ridiculous. And look, he just needs to stop changing darts. He needs to find the darts that are comfortable for him and use them.
Yeah, it feels like due to his sort of lingering beneath the surface confidence issues that he never feels set, he never feels right, he always wants to get better. It's sort of like when somebody who has anorexia looks in the mirror and still sees themselves to be fat. He just can't settle on darts. No matter how well he throws, it just doesn't seem to click for him. He never feels right. And do you think this is an issue he can solve, or do you think it's something that's going to affect his whole career?
I can't envisaging right changing at all. He's been really successful with this method, but I personally think he'd be more successful if he just stuck to 3 darts that he uses all the time.
Anyway, so Gerwyn Price, obviously we discussed last week the controversy surrounding the tweets where he said there gets to a stage in the game where it just gets boring, you don't care if you win or lose. This will be my last year in the Premier League. And he wasn't able to produce a better performance. It was what you sort of expected. Rob Cross walked through him, won 7-1. The crowd was booing Gerwyn Price, and he was sort of riling them up as well. He didn't do himself any favours. They weren't even giving him that much stick at points, and he was still giving it to the crowd. He just seems to be a very frustrated man, a bit of a sore loser. What's your opinion on everything surrounding Gerwyn Price at this stage?
Yeah, it's really awful to see, really. We're currently watching a man getting ripped apart by the bright lights of the Premier League, in my opinion. And take nothing away from Rob Cross, he just carried on with great darts and won the game easily. But this Price is really struggling. He's only got 2 more weeks to go. Hopefully, he can put really good performances in, because ultimately he's relegated now anyway. So whatever happens now, he'll just.
He'd have to pull out 2 7-0 sort of victories to keep in the Premier League, which is very doubtful.
Yeah, he's gone. So he needs to go away. He just needs to go again and hopefully replicate the form that he was in last season.
Yeah, maybe see a sports psychologist, learn that he isn't going to win every single game of darts here, and he hasn't to get downhearted, because obviously he has, and it's become a real issue in his play. Anyway, moving on to the football. We kicked off the weekend with a 1-0 win for England against the Netherlands. Did you think we played well?
I thought England were outstanding, actually. I tell you what, how impressive have England been under the new manager, Gareth Southgate. I think we're fantastic to watch, and basically we're using this young up and coming English stars, and they're going to battle with some pretty decent sides. But ultimately, Holland were awful. England could have had a hatful. They didn't have a hatful, but I really thought that England played well. So I really enjoyed the game, and I was really encouraged by what I saw. England are going to win the World Cup, by the way. And that's not a joke. I honestly believe England got a mighty chance of winning it.
Right, okay, but anyway, Southgate has implemented a very strict fitness policy. Some players on the pitch, the sort of James Milners, will be absolutely seething that Starbucks has been banned.
Emil Heskey.
Absolutely gutted and doesn't even play anymore.
Darius for sale. Absolutely in bits. No, yeah, I completely agree with it. I'm not overly keen on Starbucks anyway, so long may it continue.
I'm not a Starbucks fan, so I'd happily join the England squad if Gareth needs me. If he'd have banned Burger King...
Yeah, there's an issue there.
Yeah, Gareth would have been out of the manager position.
I personally think it's because Starbucks, they don't pay their taxes. So
I think Gareth just loves Cafe Nero.
Yeah, maybe. Or Mocha.
He loves a Mocha. Or a Bruciani's.
That's exclusive to Preston, I think, isn't it?
Is Mocha not exclusive to Preston?
No, they're everywhere, Mochas.
I've never seen another Mocha in my life outside Preston.
They're everywhere.
Anyway, Wales. Actually, no, firstly, Jordan Henderson is the captain of our national team. We've had some great players over the years. Our current captain is Jordan Henderson. And I'm saying it slowly so it sinks in.
Yeah, Jordan Henderson's the England captain. There's not much more to say. Hopefully he can. Hopefully he's lifting that Jules Rimet trophy up aloft come July, I think the end of the tournament is. So yeah. So all the best to Jordan Henderson, England captain.
Good fixture for Ryan Giggs. Wales defeated China 6-0. Any views on him as a manager?
I can't say I've seen too much of him. He did an okay job at United, didn't he? A great win for Wales, but they've got defeated by Uruguay today, on Monday that is, 1-0. But yeah, all the best to Ryan Giggs. A lovely footballing man, a horrible man off the pitch.
Yeah, I've been a bit advocate. I despise Ryan Giggs. A few years ago, well, he's a terrible human being.
He's a big United fan, this guy.
A few years ago, it broke that Ryan Giggs had been having an affair with a model called Imogen Thomas, right? Disgusting, cheating on his wife, hate it. And then it gets even more interesting. The woman who grassed him up for having an affair with a model was his sister-in-law. The sister-in-law who he'd been having sex with for 8 years behind his brother's back. Disgusting for Ryan.
It is.
Horrible, horrible human being.
A great footballer, though.
Fantastic footballer and a lovely set of chest hair, but a terrible, terrible human being.
I think he's quite good looking on Sly, but yeah.
Well, Natasha Giggs also thought that. But yeah, I hope Wales struggle under Ryan. I hope he loses his job.
Oh.
Terrible man. Terrible.
I hope Wales struggle, but it's not because of Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs is a terrible human being.
Well, he is, but he...
And if there was a man you'd assume that actually would be tampering with sheep, it would be Ryan Giggs.
Right, carry on. Clown.
Anyway, yeah. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has come to the end of his time at Manchester United. It was good to see Zlatan in the Premier League. I think a lot of fans wanted to see him, but now it's time to move on for Zlatan.
In that retirement home in the USA, and good luck to him. Lovely wage packets every week.
Yeah. It's sort of the equivalent of actors going to die at pantomimes.
Yeah.
Not much left for Zlatan. Anyway, yeah, still a good player, and will probably tear up the MLS. I can't see anyone doing it.
So, yeah.
Anyway, it's got need season. The World Cup stickers are back. You're collecting.
Of course I'm collecting. Everybody ought to collect. It's fantastic to collect stickers. So the one gripe I've got this year is the fact that it's 80 pence for a pack of 5 stickers. If you recall Euro 2016 or the World Cup in 2014, it was 50p a pack for 6 stickers. Panini are completely taking the piss. But yeah, I will absolutely collect stickers because I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. I love to collect stickers too. When I was 9 years old. You're too bloody old for this game, Adam Salisbury. You need to get up. You just need to grow up, have a word with yourself.
Get a grip.
Your Friday night was spent sat around a coffee table doing swapsies.
Yeah, this bloke claims that he last did it when he was 9. He did the Euros in 2016.
You forced me to buy the book.
No.
I bought one pack of tickets.
Tickets?
Stickers. You currently have bought over 100 stickers for your album.
That's not hard, though.
How much has that cost you so far?
Well, 10, 5, just... Okay, that would cost about £12.
£12. And how many would it cost you to complete the whole book?
About 380, but...
£380 to complete a bloody sticker book!
Yeah, but nobody completes the book.
Get a grip!
They just get, like, halfway, which is fine.
Well, I thought you said you intended to finish the book.
I hope to finish the book, obviously.
Well, £380. It's worse than your bloody gambling addict, this.
Oh, you make me sick.
Anyway, wrestling. A few weeks ago, we covered the launch of 5-star wrestling in this country. It was a new, meant to be revolutionary wrestling show every Thursday with the likes of Rey Mysterio, Rob Van Dam, John Morrison, etc. It hasn't exactly worked out like that.
It was shite, and unfortunately, well, yeah, it is quite unfortunate because it would have been nice to have like a British wrestling show every week, but ultimately it was terrible and went bust.
Yeah, I'm going to discuss quickly about the series of events which resulted in the demise of 5-star wrestling. First of all, they made the bizarre decision to book an arena tour featuring the SSE Arena, the Manchester Arena, the Echo Arena, etc., etc. Big 15,000 plus arenas, but the shows were only drawing about 1,000 people a time. You cannot book these huge arenas and then not fill them out. It costs a lot to book them, and if you're not filling them out, you are losing money big style.
And it also costs a lot to have Rey Mysterio, Jack Swagger contracted to you.
I mean, they offered CM Punk £1 million. Of course, he had no interest. But anyway, firstly, 5-star wrestling started off with a horrific reputation among fans. They had a 2017 tour. This tour that's happened now was meant to happen last year. They cancelled it after the Manchester Arena terrorist attack and said they had safety concerns. However, insiders close to the company have stated that the only reason they actually cancelled it were due to horrific ticket sales, which fans don't like because they believe that they used the Manchester Arena as an excuse, like the tragedy as an excuse for not selling tickets, which you could argue is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it is awful, that. I didn't actually know that. That's bloody awful. That's vile.
Anyway, so the fans vented on social media, but luckily for them, 5-star wrestling was able to recover. They got a deal with Free Sports. They had the chance, they gave it a big build-up, the chance of going massive on the first show. First impressions massively count in this industry, and that first show was absolutely abysmal. They had the same walkout music for every single person. They had empty seats. There was a lack of atmosphere. The wrestling was relatively poor. It wasn't brilliant, was it?
No, it was awful.
Anyway, there was poor customer services online. Tickets were difficult to buy. They had a 2-week hiatus. Rey Mysterio then walked out of the company, said enough's enough, I am done with this. I'm done with performing in front of 30 people. No interest. Then the promotion says it hasn't heard from Rey, but they start saying that he will be at the Manchester show. He will be at the Manchester show. It comes across like they're trying to sell tickets for a man who's not going to be there. One of their stars, called Zach Gibson, a Liverpool wrestler, he leaves the company as well, so the two of the big stars down. Then it leaks that they were going to be closing down. The company was going to be closing down. They said they had a sort of plan to get shows back on the road, and then it all fell apart, and 5-star wrestling was done.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, they had a couple of decent shows, but unfortunately, the first impressions really count. You can't go to big arenas and not sell tickets. They've gone bust, and that is the end for British wrestling on our shores at this period of time.
Yes.
Anyway, another reasonable piece of wrestling news. Daniel Bryan is back. He's been cleared to wrestle. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, he lost his dream when he was having repeated concussions. It would have been dangerous for him to carry on, but he's back and gets to carry on doing what he does best.
I really like Daniel Bryan, and I think the whole universe within wrestling really likes Daniel Bryan, so it's great news as far as I'm concerned. I'd love to see him at WrestleMania, potentially a bit too soon, but who knows.
Yeah, anyway, I remember watching it, when I first started watching wrestling, he was just sort of being introduced. He was a rebel, he was against the Nexus, he had a really good submission lock, actually made the Miz cry at Night of Champions. Yeah. I sort of stopped watching, and now he does the whole yes thing. I don't really know what that's about, but the fans seem to love it.
Yeah.
Alongside You Deserve It, which they seem to chant to people after matches, I just think it's ridiculous. The WWE universe has got a bit loose since when I used to watch
they were
it.
chanting, like, you tapped out at people as well. Like,
yeah.
After
I want fighting. I don't want people deserving.
No.
Deserving. I want proper brawls.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, to finish off the show, first of all, fantastic. The students of America have had enough of being shot, effectively. The March of Our Lives took place. It's fantastic people are trying to stand up to the NRA and the government and change the gun laws. Whether they'll be successful or not, we don't know.
They won't.
But it's good,
it's good
that they are trying to make a difference, because, of course, for us in this country, it just seems ludicrous that people keep dying at the hands of guns. I'm very anti-gun, and I hope that they can have some sort of impact with the government. Maybe not a full gun ban, it seems unlikely, but maybe we can sort of lower the barriers bit by bit and eventually work towards a society where school children don't have to go to school and feel scared about being shot. Anyway, quite emotional. Toys R Us has closed down.
Yeah,
That's a big part of my childhood gone.
It is. It's awful news. People who were born in 2018 or 2017 will never ever feel the joys of going into Toys R Us and playing with all the toys and stuff. It's just class.
It was absolutely massive, that Toys R Us.
It was.
In Preston. I'm genuinely gutted. Like, I feel like a part of me sort of gone, died, done. Loved Toys R Us back in the day. I was once thrown out at 10 years old for riding a bike round Toys R Us. One of the little tiny little things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's a grow up.
I was 10 years old at the time.
Right.
Collecting stickers probably at that period. But anyway, yeah. Really sad that Toys R Us have gone. Used to love the toys. They had stuff from absolutely every industry, every market. We love Toys R Us.
Yep, rest in peace. Toys
Anyway,
R Us.
next, very controversial for us. Preston is home to a lot of good clubs. You know, you've got your Belugas, your Evokes, your Switches. How on earth Warehouse has won Club of the Year is disgusting.
Yeah.
I am absolutely livid. If you've not been to Warehouse, it's sort of like a sweaty Hollister covered in emos. Like
Goths and horrible people.
Horrible. I've been in once, thrown out twice, never going back. Disgusting place. I cannot believe it's won Club of the Year. When you've got clubs like Switch playing hits from the 90s, I can't believe it. Livid.
Yeah, you must all think we're changing scum, getting whizzed out of all sorts of places in town. But yeah, Warehouse isn't brilliant. I wouldn't advise going in.
Despise Warehouse. Anyway, yeah. Lastly, Lucas Brown, we're still a huge fan of yours. Unfortunately, Saturday night wasn't your night. We still believe in you. We hope you can have a couple of decent nights in Australia, a couple of big domestic fights. Unfortunately, that Russian night, it was taken off you to a certain extent, but for your fans who watched it, we still remember the heart you showed. We still remember that big right hand that lasted. We remember that living room melee where we were jumping for joy when you beat Ruslan Shagiev. We're still behind you, mate. Good luck. To play us out, it was the walkout song you had that night. Well done, Lucas. See you all next week.
All the best, Lucas.